The great chamber of the Galactic Coalition floated in the darkness of space like a massive crystal sphere. Inside, 7 species sat in their designated seats, each representing thousands of worlds and trillions of lives. They had gathered today to discuss something unusual, something that made many of them uncomfortable. Humanity wanted to join. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the center of the chamber, her dark suit a sharp contrast to the flowing robes and adaptive armor of the other species. She had practiced her speech for months. Every word mattered. This was humanity's chance to join the galaxy's oldest alliance. Honored Council, Elena began, her voice steady. Humanity has traveled the stars for 200 years. We have met 17 species. We have traded fairly. We have harmed no one. We ask now to join the Galactic Coalition as equal members. The Kryn prelate shifted in his seat. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his people. The Kryn had been in space for over 10,000 years. They considered themselves the wisest species in the galaxy. We have reviewed your application, the prelate said, his voice like grinding stones. Your history concerns us. Your species has fought over 4,000 wars on your home planet alone. You have killed billions of your own kind. Why should we trust you among the stars? Elena had expected this question. Every species asked it. Humans had a bloody history. There was no denying it. We do not hide from our past, she replied. Yes, we fought. Yes, we killed. But we also learned. We grew. We united. For the last 300 years, Earth has known peace. We bring that peace to the stars. A Vaxil counselor spoke next, her crystalline body chiming softly. The Accord of Settled Space has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years. All members agree to limit their weapons. No species may develop weapons beyond Class 4 kinetic force. No plasma weapons. No antimatter bombs. No weapons of mass destruction. Will humanity accept these terms? Elena hesitated for just a moment. She had read the Accord carefully. The weapons restrictions were severe. Earth's military leaders had debated this for months, but the decision was made. We accept the terms of the Accord, Elena said. The council members whispered among themselves. The decision would take days, perhaps weeks. Elena bowed and left the chamber, hoping she had done enough, but the galaxy had other plans. 3 days later, alarms screamed across Coalition space. The Zethrak Dominion, a species that had refused Coalition membership centuries ago, attacked without warning. Their ships appeared in the outer rim systems like ghosts from dark space. They struck fast and hard. The Coalition's defense fleet responded immediately. 50 warships rushed to defend the colony world of Kelthera Prime. The fleet was strong, experienced, and confident. They had not fought a real war in generations, but their ships were solid. Their tactics were proven. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The Zethrak ships used weapons the Coalition had not seen in millennia. Plasma cannons that melted through shields like paper, energy weapons that ignored defensive barriers, missiles that tracked targets through 3 dimensions of space-time. Of the 50 Coalition ships, 43 were destroyed. The remaining 7 retreated in chaos. Kelthera Prime burned. 3 million colonists died in the first hour. The council convened an emergency session. Panic filled the great chamber. Some species demanded immediate negotiations. Others called for retreat to core worlds. The Kryn prelate stood and raised his forearms for silence. We are bound by the Accord, he said. We cannot develop weapons to match the Zethrak. It would take decades to research, decades to build. We have weeks at best. The Zethrak will strike again. Then we are lost, a counselor whispered. Elena Vasquez stepped forward. She had been watching from the observer's gallery. She was not yet a full member, but the situation was desperate. Honored Council, she called out. Humanity can help. The prelate turned to her. Your species has not yet been accepted. You have no ships in our space. How can you possibly help? Elena took a deep breath. Because we never signed the Accord. We built our ships without knowing your rules. We have weapons you banned 3,000 years ago. The chamber fell silent. Every counselor stared at the human ambassador. What kind of weapons? The prelate asked slowly. The kind that win wars, Elena replied. The debate that followed was fierce. Some counselors called it cheating. Others called it salvation. The Vaxil counselor who had questioned Elena days before finally spoke. We are dying. The Zethrak will not stop with the outer rim. They will come for all of us. If the humans can fight, we must let them fight. The vote was close. 4 in favor, 3 against. But it was enough. Humanity was granted provisional membership in the Galactic Coalition. In return, Earth would send military aid immediately. Elena sent the signal that same hour. The response came faster than anyone expected. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the USS Blackstar. We received your call. We are already en route. ETA to Calthera Prime, 6 hours. The Coalition officers scrambled to check their sensors. How could a human ship already be so close? Had they been waiting? Had they known?" Admiral Tharxis, a Kryn military commander with 40 years of experience, pulled up the Blackstar's specifications. His four eyes widened in shock. Then fear. The ship was massive, 2 kilometers long, heavily armored, and its weapons list made his blood run cold. Railguns that could punch through a moon, nuclear missiles with yields measured in megatons, torpedo bays loaded with antimatter warheads, point defense systems that could track 1,000 targets simultaneously, and something listed only as Hellfire Protocol Experimental. What have we done? Tharxis whispered to himself. 6 hours later, the USS Blackstar dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Calthera Prime's system. The Zethrak had left a small occupation force, 12 warships orbiting the burning planet. Captain Chen sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display. His crew was silent, waiting for orders. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. First contact with hostile aliens, humanity's first real space battle. "Communications," Chen said calmly. "Send a message to the Zethrak fleet. Tell them to leave the system immediately or be destroyed." "Sir," his communications officer replied. "They're responding. They say humans are not part of the Accord and have no authority here." Chen smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then I guess we'll have to introduce ourselves. Weapons free, all batteries. Show them what humans do to bullies." The USS Blackstar lit up the darkness with weapons fire. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible truth. Humanity had reached for the stars not as explorers, but as warriors. And they were very, very good at it. The Battle of Calthera Prime had begun. The galaxy would never be the same. The first railgun shot crossed 300,000 kilometers in less than 2 seconds. It hit the lead Zethrak cruiser dead center, punching through its shields as if they were not there. The kinetic round tore through the ship from bow to stern, and the cruiser split in half like a broken toy. On the bridge of the Coalition observation ship, Admiral Tharxis watched in stunned silence. His four eyes could barely process what he was seeing. The human ship moved like nothing he had ever witnessed. It did not dance away from enemy fire like Coalition ships. It charged forward directly into the Zethrak formation. "They are insane," Tharxis whispered. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the Blackstar's bridge, hands behind his back, watching the tactical display with calm eyes. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. "No panic, no fear. Just focus. Target the cruiser on our port side," Chen ordered. "Fire missile spread, pattern Delta 7. Missiles away, Captain." 6 nuclear-tipped missiles streaked toward the Zethrak ship. The alien vessel tried to evade, but the missiles were too fast, too smart. They detonated in a perfect hexagonal pattern around the cruiser. The overlapping nuclear fireballs consumed the ship in an instant. 2 down, Chen said quietly. 10 to go. The Zethrak fleet finally responded with coordinated fire. Plasma bolts and energy beams hammered into the Blackstar's shields. The ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Shields at 60%, the tactical officer reported. "Maintain course," Chen replied. "Close to knife fighting range." Tharxis could not believe what he was hearing through the open communication channel. Knife fighting range? In space combat, ships were supposed to keep distance, use their shields, fight carefully. This human was doing the opposite. The Blackstar plowed through the Zethrak formation like a shark through fish. Its point defense cannons filled space with streams of metal, shredding incoming missiles before they could strike. Its railguns fired again and again, each shot precise and devastating. Another Zethrak ship exploded, then another. "Captain," the weapons officer called out. "We have a clear shot on their command ship. Request permission to use Hellfire." Chen paused. The Hellfire weapon had never been used in actual combat. They had tested it twice, both times on abandoned asteroids. The results had been excessive. "Negative," Chen said. "Save Hellfire for a real emergency. Use antimatter torpedoes instead." "Yes, sir." Torpedoes locked, firing. 2 torpedoes launched from the Blackstar's forward tubes. They were smaller than the missiles, but infinitely more dangerous. Each contained a microscopic amount of antimatter, held in perfect magnetic suspension. When the magnetic field collapsed, matter and antimatter would meet. The torpedoes hit the Zethrak command ship simultaneously. The explosion was so bright that the Blackstar's view screens automatically dimmed. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the command ship but expanding gas and debris. The remaining Zethrak vessels broke formation and fled. They jumped to faster-than-light speeds without even attempting a coordinated retreat. Pure panic, the Battle of Kelthera Prime was over. Total time, 14 minutes. Chen allowed himself a small smile. Stand down from combat alert. Damage report. Shields at 40%. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 11. No casualties. Repair crews are already working. Good, send a message to Admiral Tharxis. Tell him the system is secure. On the Coalition observation ship, Tharxis sat frozen in his command chair. He had fought in 17 battles during his long career. He had studied military tactics for 4 decades. He thought he understood war. He understood nothing. The human ship had just destroyed 7 warships in 14 minutes, using weapons and tactics that defied every rule of civilized warfare. The Coalition fought wars like chess matches, careful and measured. Humans fought like they wanted everyone dead. Tharxis opened a communication channel to the Blackstar. Captain Chen's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, almost bored. Captain Chen, Tharxis said slowly, your tactics are unconventional. Chen raised an eyebrow. We won, didn't we? You deliberately took damage to close distance with the enemy. You used nuclear weapons in close quarters. You risked your ship and crew in ways that seem reckless. We took calculated risks, Chen corrected. Every move was planned. We knew our shields could handle their plasma cannons long enough to get close. Once we were inside their optimal firing range, they couldn't hurt us without hitting their own ships. Basic tactics, Admiral, basic tactics. Tharxis wanted to scream. There was nothing basic about what he had just witnessed. Captain, I must ask, what is this hellfire weapon you mentioned? Chen's expression became unreadable. Something we hope never to use, Admiral. Let's leave it at that. Over the next 3 days, word of the battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Coalition had shared the battle recordings with all member species, hoping to boost morale. Instead, it caused a panic. The Zethrak Dominion intercepted the recordings too. Their high command watched in horror as their ships were destroyed with casual efficiency. They immediately sent a formal protest to the Coalition Council. Humanity must be sanctioned, the Zethrak ambassador demanded in a transmitted message. They have violated every principle of the Accord of Settled Space. Their weapons are barbaric. They are dangerous to all civilized species. The Coalition Council debated for hours. Some species agreed with the Zethrak. Others saw humanity's victory as salvation. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the council defending her species. You invited us to help, Elena said firmly. We helped. We saved millions of lives on Kelthera Prime. We stopped the Zethrak invasion. And now you want to punish us for winning? You used nuclear weapons, a counselor accused. You used antimatter. These weapons have been banned for 3,000 years. Banned by you, Elena shot back. Not by us. We never signed the accord before this week. How can we violate rules we never agreed to follow? The Kryn prelate raised his forearms for silence. The human makes a valid point. However, we must consider the implications. If humanity keeps these weapons, what prevents other species from developing them? The accord will collapse. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. The accord already collapsed, she said quietly. The Zethrak broke it when they attacked with forbidden weapons. You can either adapt or die. Humanity offers you a third option. Let us fight your wars. We're good at it. We've had practice. The council chamber fell silent. The brutal honesty of the statement shocked everyone. Admiral Tharxis, who had been listening from the military observers section, stood up. He had thought long and hard about what he witnessed. His military training warred with his instincts. Finally, he made his decision. I support humanity's membership, Tharxis announced. We need them. The Zethrak will attack again, next time with more ships. We cannot win with our current fleet, but with human tactics and human weapons we can survive. The vote was taken, 6 in favor, 1 against. Humanity was accepted as a full member of the Galactic Coalition, but the Zethrak were not finished. Not by far. Deep in their territory, the Zethrak High Command gathered in their war chamber. They reviewed the battle recordings again and again, analyzing every human move. They saw the Blackstar's weaknesses. They calculated its capabilities. They planned. One ship, the Zethrak Warmaster hissed. They sent one ship. We will send 300. We will crush these humans and show the galaxy that the Zethrak Dominion is the supreme power. Orders went out across Zethrak space. Every available warship was recalled to the home fleet. Troops were mobilized. Weapons were tested. The Grand Armada began to form. On Earth, satellite communications picked up Zethrak military transmissions. Intelligence analysts decoded them within hours. The message was clear: war was coming. Real war. Captain Chen received new orders from Fleet Command. His hands trembled slightly as he read them. Not from fear. From anticipation. All crew, this is the captain, he announced over the ship-wide intercom. We've just received word. The Zethrak are mobilizing their entire fleet against us. 300 ships. Maybe more. High Command wants us to fall back to Coalition core worlds and wait for reinforcements. He paused, letting that sink in. I'm not going to do that. We're going to meet them head-on at the Terminus Nebula. We're going to show them what one human ship can do. And if we die, we're taking so many of them with us that they'll remember the name Blackstar for 1,000 years. Any objections? The bridge crew stood as one. No, sir. Chen smiled. Good, helm, set course for Terminus Nebula. Maximum speed. Let's go start a war. The USS Blackstar jumped to faster-than-light speeds, racing toward a battle that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. Behind them, the Coalition scrambled to respond. Ahead of them, the largest armada in Zethrak history waited. The galaxy held its breath. The Terminus Nebula hung in space like a vast cloud of poison, gases and cosmic dust stretching across billions of kilometers. It was beautiful and deadly. Ships could hide in its depths, using the interference to mask their approach. It was the perfect place for an ambush or a last stand. The USS Blackstar dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the nebula's edge. Captain Chen stood on the bridge, looking at the tactical display. 300 red dots filled the screen. 300 Zethrak warships arranged in a perfect battle formation. They had been waiting. Well, Chen said quietly, I guess they really don't like us. His first officer, Commander Sarah Park, stood beside him. She had served with Chen for 8 years. She knew him well enough to hear the tension in his voice even when he tried to hide it. Captain, we can still retreat, she said. Jump back to Coalition space. No shame in falling back against these odds. Chen shook his head. Look at their formation, Sarah. Look at where they're positioned. They're not just here to fight us. They're positioned to jump to Coalition core worlds. If we run, they'll follow. They'll burn through every populated system between here and Earth. Millions will die. So we fight 300 ships alone. We fight 300 ships alone, Chen confirmed. Inform the crew. Full combat alert. Weapons free. And tell engineering to prepare Hellfire. Park hesitated. Captain, we've only tested that weapon twice. We don't know if it's stable in extended combat. Then we're about to find out. Carry out your orders, Commander. Yes, sir. The Coalition had wanted to send observers to watch the battle. Chen had refused. What was about to happen would be brutal, desperate, possibly suicidal. He did not want witnesses to humanity's potential last moments. But someone was watching anyway. Admiral Tharxis had followed the Blackstar in a small, fast scout ship. He stayed far back beyond sensor range, recording everything. He had to see how the humans fought when truly cornered. He had to know if humanity was the galaxy's salvation or its doom. The Zethrak fleet detected the Blackstar immediately. Why would they not? The human ship made no attempt to hide. It simply flew straight toward the center of their formation. The Zethrak Warmaster watched from his flagship with satisfaction. The humans were fools. Brave fools perhaps, but fools nonetheless. One ship against 300. It would be a quick battle. He gave the order to attack. Space erupted with weapons fire. Plasma bolts, energy beams, and missiles streaked toward the Blackstar from every direction. The human ship's shields flared bright under the assault, absorbing impossible amounts of punishment. Shields at 80%, the tactical officer reported. 70, 65. Return fire, Chen ordered. All weapons. Show them hell. The Blackstar's railguns opened up with a sound like thunder, multiple shots per second, each one capable of destroying a ship. The nuclear missiles followed, spreading through the enemy formation like deadly seeds. Antimatter torpedoes lanced through space, each detonation like a miniature sun. Zethrak ships exploded in rapid succession, 5, 10, 15. The numbers climbed, but there were so many. For every ship destroyed, 5 more took its position. The Blackstar's shields continued to drop. 50%, 40, 30. Hull breaches on multiple decks, Park reported. We're taking serious damage, Captain. Chen watched the tactical display with cold eyes. They had destroyed 32 enemy ships. Not nearly enough. At this rate, they would be dead in minutes. Time for the final gambit. Activate Hellfire, Chen said. The bridge crew fell silent. Everyone knew about Hellfire. Everyone had heard the rumors. An experimental weapon that had melted a 3-kilometer asteroid in the test firing. A weapon so powerful that Command had almost refused to install it. Hellfire charging, the weapons officer said. His voice shook slightly. Full power in 90 seconds. The Blackstar took more hits. The ship shuddered. Warning alarms screamed. A plasma bolt broke through the weakened shields and struck the starboard side, burning through 3 decks. Casualties reported, Park said. Medical teams responding. Shields at 20%. 60 seconds to Hellfire, the weapons officer counted. More ships closed in, sensing victory. The Zethrak War Master smiled. The humans had fought well, but they were finished. He would mount the wreckage of their ship in his throne room as a trophy. 30 seconds. The Blackstar rotated on its axis, bringing its bow to face the densest cluster of enemy ships. Chen gripped his command chair. This would either save them or kill them, possibly both. 10 seconds, 9, 8. Fire when ready, Chen said calmly. Hellfire activated. Firing now. The bow of the Blackstar split open like a blossoming flower. Deep inside, a massive focusing array powered up, drawing energy from the ship's entire power grid. The lights across the ship dimmed. Non-essential systems shut down automatically. Every drop of power fed into the weapon, and then it fired. A beam of pure antimatter particles, magnetically contained and directed, shot from the Blackstar's bow. It was 3 meters wide and brighter than a star. It hit the first Zethrak ship and went straight through it, then through the second ship, and the third, and the fourth. The beam swept through the enemy formation like a sword through flesh, cutting in a slow arc. Every ship it touched simply ceased to exist, consumed by matter-antimatter annihilation. The explosions were so bright that sensors across the battlefield automatically shut down to prevent damage. 15 seconds of continuous fire. 47 ships destroyed in a single sweep. When the beam finally cut off, the Blackstar's power grid crashed. Emergency lights activated. The ship went dark except for critical systems. In the sudden silence, Chen heard his weapons officer whisper, "My God, what have we done?" The Zethrak fleet fell into chaos. Ships broke formation. Some tried to flee. Others fired wildly in all directions. The perfect military formation dissolved into panic. Get power back online, Chen ordered. All non-essential systems offline. Weapons and shields only, and launch the boarding pods. Park stared at him. Captain, we're dead in space. Our shields are gone. We can barely fight. You want to launch boarding pods? They're panicking, Chen explained. We need to keep them off balance. Launch the pods at the closest ships. Let's introduce them to human Marines. The boarding pods were a uniquely human invention. Each one was essentially an armored missile with soldiers inside. They would punch through an enemy ship's hull and deploy combat troops directly into the vessel. It was insane. It was terrifying. It was very effective. 20 pods launched from the Blackstar's belly, each one carrying 10 fully armed Marines. They flew toward the closest Zethrak vessels at incredible speeds. Point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but the pods were small, fast, and heavily armored. 18 reached their targets. The Zethrak crew of the cruiser Vengeance heard a terrible sound. Metal screaming as something punched through their hull. Alarms blared. Atmosphere began venting. And then the boarding pod's door exploded open. Sergeant James Rodriguez was the first one out. He had fought in training exercises that simulated alien boarding actions. He had studied Zethrak physiology and ship layouts. He was ready. The Zethrak were not ready for him. Rodriguez and his squad moved through the alien ship like a storm. Their armor could withstand plasma bolts. Their weapons fired kinetic rounds that ripped through Zethrak chitin like paper. But more than their equipment, it was their attitude that terrified the aliens. Human Marines did not retreat. They did not negotiate. They fought with a ferocity born from thousands of years of warfare. When Zethrak soldiers set up defensive positions, the humans threw grenades. When the grenades ran out, they used their rifles. When the rifles jammed, they used their sidearms. When the ammunition ran out, they used their knives. One Zethrak captain sent a desperate transmission to the War Master. They do not stop. They take wounds that should be fatal and keep fighting. What kind of species is this? Rodriguez and his team reached the cruiser's bridge in 12 minutes. The Zethrak captain tried to surrender. Rodriguez accepted the surrender, secured the bridge, and then contacted the next nearest boarding team. Bridge secured. Moving to engineering. Gonna turn this ship around and use it on his friends. 20 minutes after the pods launched, 3 Zethrak cruisers switched sides. Captured. Turned against their own fleet by the small human teams inside. The psychological impact was devastating. The Zethrak War Master finally understood the truth. These humans were not civilized warriors. They were predators wearing the skin of civilization. They fought without mercy, without hesitation, without fear. He gave the order to retreat. The Zethrak fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed in a disorganized mass. They left behind 89 wrecked ships and 3 captured cruisers. The Battle of Terminus Nebula was over. On the Blackstar's dark bridge, Chen sagged in his command chair. They had won. Against all odds, they had won. Casualties? He asked quietly. 37 dead, Park reported. 62 wounded. Most injuries are from the hull breaches. The boarding teams all survived. Chen closed his eyes. 37 dead. 37 people who had trusted him. 37 families who would receive the worst news possible. But millions lived because of those 37. The Zethrak fleet would have burned through the coalition. Now they were running in fear. Get me a communication channel to Earth, Chen said. Priority Alpha, tell the Zethrak High Command met in their war chamber deep beneath their homeworld surface. The room was filled with the Empire's greatest military minds, all of them shocked into silence. They had just watched the recordings from Terminus Nebula for the 3rd time. 1 ship. The humans had sent 1 ship, and it had destroyed 89 vessels from the Grand Armada. This is unacceptable, the Supreme Commander hissed, his mandibles clicking in agitation. We are the Zethrak Dominion. We have conquered 40 systems. We have crushed a dozen species. And we run from primates? The War Master, freshly returned from the battle, stood before the council. His pride was wounded, but his military mind was clear. Supreme Commander, we underestimated them. Their weapons, their tactics, their determination. We must reconsider our approach. Reconsider? The Supreme Commander slammed his clawed hand on the table. No, we escalate. The humans showed us 1 ship. We will show them our full might. Every ship. Every soldier. We will declare total war on humanity and their coalition pets. We will burn Earth itself. The War Master felt cold dread creep through his body. Supreme Commander, I must advise against. Your advice lost us 90 ships. No more advice. Only action. Send the declaration of war. Mobilize every fleet. This ends now. The declaration went out across all frequencies, broadcast to every species in the galaxy. The Zethrak Dominion declared total war on humanity and the Galactic Coalition. No negotiations, no mercy. Complete annihilation. The Coalition Council received the message in stunned horror. Several species immediately petitioned to surrender. Others debated fleeing to uncharted space. The great alliance that had stood for 3,000 years seemed ready to collapse. And then Earth responded. Admiral Tharxis was in the council chamber when the message came through. It was audio only, but the voice was clear and calm. A human woman speaking with absolute confidence. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Okoro of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We have received the Zethrak Declaration of War. We accept. To the Zethrak Dominion. You have made a critical error. You attacked 1 ship. Now you will meet the fleet. The transmission ended. The council members looked at each other in confusion. What fleet? Humanity had sent the Blackstar. What else could they possibly have? 12 hours later, they found out. The skies above Coalition High Command Station suddenly filled with new contacts. Faster-than-light jump signatures appeared by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Ships began dropping into normal space in perfect formation. 17 human dreadnoughts, each one the size of the Blackstar, 65 battlecruisers, 98 destroyers, 140 support vessels. Over 300 human warships appeared in Coalition space. Admiral Tharxis felt his four hearts skip a beat. "How?" he whispered. "How did they build this many?" Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood beside him, a slight smile on her face. "You asked what humanity did for 200 years while exploring space, Admiral. We explored, we mapped. We built shipyards on asteroids and empty systems. We mined resources from dead worlds. We prepared. Because we learned a long time ago on Earth. Hope for peace, but prepare for war." The lead dreadnought, the USS Valkyrie, opened a communication channel. Fleet Admiral Okoro appeared on every screen in Coalition space. She was a tall woman with dark skin, gray hair, and eyes that had seen too much combat. "To all Coalition members," Okoro said, "we stand with you. To the Zethrak, you wanted war. You will have it. But understand this. We will show you why humanity spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing. You will learn why we banned our own weapons of mass destruction. You will understand what it means to face a species that has survived everything from ice ages to nuclear wars. By the time this is over, you will beg for the mercy we never show." The transmission ended. Tharxis stared at the fleet display. 300 human warships, and something told him this was not even close to Earth's full military strength. He was right. The war began in earnest within days. The Zethrak launched attacks on 5 Coalition worlds simultaneously, throwing massive forces at each target. They expected to overwhelm the defenders through sheer numbers. They did not expect the humans. At the Battle of Vexara Thrud, 50 Zethrak ships attacked the orbital stations. 30 Coalition vessels fought desperately to defend them. They were losing badly when 3 human battlecruisers arrived. The human ships introduced something new to the war: kinetic bombardment satellites. Hundreds of small platforms that could launch tungsten rods at incredible speeds. Each rod weighed only 10 kilograms but hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The Zethrak ships found themselves bombarded from every angle, unable to track and destroy all the satellites. 20 Zethrak ships were destroyed in the first hour. The rest retreated. At the Battle of Kelthrim Station, the Zethrak tried a different approach. They sent 100 ships in a coordinated assault, attacking from multiple directions to split the defenders. The humans countered with something the Coalition had never seen: AI-assisted targeting. Human ships could track and engage multiple targets simultaneously with frightening precision. One human destroyer fought against 7 Zethrak cruisers and won, its weapon system computing firing solutions faster than organic minds could follow. But the humans did not just bring new technology. They brought new tactics, new strategies, and a willingness to do whatever it took to win. Fleet Admiral Okoro coordinated with Coalition forces, teaching them human-style warfare. She set up joint training exercises, held tactical briefings, shared intelligence data, and she taught them the core principle of human military doctrine. "If you cannot win clean, win dirty," she told a room full of Coalition officers. "If you cannot win dirty, win anyway. There is no honor in losing. There is no dignity in extinction. You fight with everything you have. You use every advantage. You exploit every weakness, and you never ever give up." The Coalition officers were shocked. This went against 3,000 years of civilized warfare. Wars were supposed to be controlled, limited, manageable. Civilized warfare is a luxury, Okoro continued. A luxury you can only afford when both sides follow the same rules. The Zethrak broke the rules, so we throw the rulebook away. Now let me teach you how humans really fight. Over the next weeks, the Coalition forces transformed. Human advisors embedded with every fleet, teaching aggressive tactics. Human engineers helped upgrade Coalition weapons. Human psychologists developed new training programs to prepare soldiers for brutal combat. And the humans introduced psychological warfare. The Zethrak had never experienced anything like it. Human ships broadcast sounds across all frequencies during battles, music. Specifically, something humans called death metal. The pounding rhythms, the aggressive vocals, the intense energy. It terrified the Zethrak. Their sensitive hearing made it worse. Some Zethrak soldiers refused to fight, claiming the sounds drove them mad. One Zethrak commander sent a desperate message to the High Command. What kind of species weaponizes music? What kind of warriors celebrate death while fighting? These humans are demons. The tide of war began to turn. Every Zethrak assault met fierce resistance. Every advance came at terrible cost. The Zethrak had more ships, more soldiers, more resources. But the humans had something more important: the will to win at any price. The USS Blackstar returned to service after 6 weeks of repairs. Captain Chen rejoined the fleet with his ship better than ever. Coalition engineers had worked alongside human crews, combining Coalition shield technology with human weapons. The result was a ship that could take even more punishment while dealing even more damage. Chen met with Fleet Admiral Okoro on the Valkyrie to discuss strategy. They stood in the war room, looking at a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red markers showed Zethrak-controlled space. Blue showed Coalition space. The red was steadily shrinking. "We're winning," Chen said. "But they're not breaking." "Not yet," Okoro nodded. "The Zethrak have staked everything on this war. Their pride, their honor, their entire identity as conquerors. They won't surrender unless we hit them where it hurts most. Their homeworld." "Their homeworld," Okoro confirmed. "We take the fight to them. We blockade their system. We show them they cannot win. Then maybe they'll surrender. And if they don't," Okoro's expression hardened, "then we do what humans do best. We finish it." The combined human coalition fleet assembled for the final push. Over 200 warships, the largest fleet ever gathered in coalition history. They would jump to the Zethrak home system and end this war, one way or another. On the bridge of the Blackstar, Captain Chen addressed his crew one last time before the jump. "We started this war," he said. "One ship against impossible odds. We showed the galaxy what humans could do. Now we finish it. For the 37 we lost at Terminus Nebula. For every coalition civilian killed by Zethrak aggression. For every species that ever looked at the stars and dreamed of peace. We finish this. Are you with me?" The crew responded as one. "Yes, sir." "Then let's end a war. All ships jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." 300 ships vanished into faster-than-light travel, jumping toward the heart of Zethrak space. The final battle was about to begin. The war that had started with one ship would end with a fleet. And the galaxy would never forget what happened when you made an enemy of humanity. The Zethrak homeworld of Zethra Prime hung in space like a gray pearl. It was an ancient world, heavily industrialized, home to 12 billion Zethrak. Orbital stations ringed the planet. Defense platforms covered every approach. The Zethrak had been building these defenses for thousands of years. They had never expected to need them. The human coalition fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 200 warships in perfect formation. The Zethrak home fleet scrambled to respond, but they were unprepared. Most of their military strength had been sent to fight in coalition space. What remained was less than 100 ships. Fleet Admiral Okoro stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, studying the tactical display. Captain Chen joined her via video link from the Blackstar. Admiral Tharxis represented the coalition forces from his flagship. Together, they commanded the largest military operation in modern galactic history. "The Zethrak are hailing us," the communications officer reported. "Multiple channels. They're demanding we leave their space immediately." "Ignore them," Okoro said calmly. "Broadcast our terms on all frequencies. Let every Zethrak hear this." She activated the transmission. Her voice carried across the entire system, reaching every ship, every station, every screen on the planet below. "Attention Zethrak Dominion. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Okoro of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You declared war on humanity and the Galactic Coalition. You attacked civilian worlds. You killed millions of innocent beings. You broke every law of civilized space. Now you will answer for those crimes. These are our terms: unconditional surrender, immediate, total, complete. You have 1 hour to respond." The transmission ended. Chen watched the enemy fleet on his tactical display. They were maneuvering, trying to form a defensive line between the human fleet and their homeworld. "They won't surrender," Chen said quietly. "Not the Zethrak. Their entire culture is built on conquest and pride. Surrender means death to them. Then they'll learn a hard lesson," Okoro replied. "Tactical, what's the status on total denial protocol?" The tactical officer checked his console. "Deployment packages ready, Admiral? We can have the system locked down in 30 minutes. Admiral Tharxis, listening to the exchange, felt confused. "What is total denial protocol?" Okoro glanced at his video feed. "Something we developed during Earth's last World War. Self-replicating mine system. We deploy the seeds throughout their orbital space. The mines replicate using materials from asteroids and debris. Within a few days, nothing can enter or leave the planet without hitting a mine. Complete blockade. Self-replicating weapons." Tharxis felt his four hearts race. That is incredibly dangerous. What if they spread beyond the target area? They're programmed to shut down after 60 days, Okoro assured him. We're not trying to destroy the galaxy, Admiral. Just make a point. The hour passed. The Zethrak sent no response. Instead, their home fleet charged forward, all 93 ships accelerating toward the human coalition forces. They've made their choice, Okoro said sadly. All ships weapons-free, engage. The battle was brutal but one-sided. The Zethrak fought with desperate courage, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Human dreadnoughts tore through their formations. Coalition ships, now trained in human tactics, fought with new aggression. Zethrak ships exploded one after another. Within 20 minutes, the Zethrak home fleet was destroyed. Not a single ship survived. On the surface of Zethra Prime, billions watched their protectors die in the cold void of space. Panic spread through the cities. Some called for continued resistance. Others demanded their leaders surrender before more blood was spilled. The Zethrak High Command met in their war chamber. The Supreme Commander stood before his council, mandibles trembling with rage and fear. We still have ground forces, he insisted. Billions of soldiers. Let them land. We will make them pay for every meter of our world. The War Master, who had survived the Battle of Terminus Nebula, shook his head. Supreme Commander, we have lost. Our fleet is gone. Our armies in coalition space are cut off and dying. If we continue this fight, the humans will destroy our entire species. I have seen what they can do. I have watched them fight. We must surrender. Never. The Zethrak do not surrender. Then the Zethrak will die, the War Master said flatly. All of us. Is your pride worth 12 billion lives? The Supreme Commander stared at him. For the first time in his life, he saw fear in his own reflection. His pride had started this war. His arrogance had doomed his people. But he was not ready to surrender. Not yet. We will make them come to us, he decided. We will fortify our world. They cannot invade a planet of 12 billion. It would take years. The War Master closed his eyes in despair. His commander had learned nothing. In orbit, Fleet Admiral Okoro watched the planet below. No surrender had come. She had hoped to avoid the next step. But humanity had learned long ago that hope was not a strategy. Deploy total denial protocol, she ordered. 50 human ships launched their payloads. Thousands of small objects scattered throughout the orbital space around Zethra Prime. Each one was a self-replicating mind seed. They began working immediately, harvesting materials from space debris and asteroids copying themselves. Within 6 hours, there were 1 million minds. Within 12 hours, 10 million. Within 24 hours, the entire orbital space around Zethra Prime was filled with autonomous explosives. Nothing could enter or leave without detonating hundreds of them. The blockade was complete. On the planet's surface, life continued. At first. But as days passed, the reality set in. No supplies could reach the surface. No food shipments. No medicine, no trade. The Zethrak were self-sufficient, but their population was enormous and their stockpiles were not infinite. After 1 week, food prices began to rise. After 2 weeks, riots broke out in the capital. After 3 weeks, the military began rationing supplies. The War Master went to the Supreme Commander one final time. We are dying slowly instead of quickly. This is more cruel than a quick defeat would have been. Please, end this. Surrender before our people starve. The Supreme Commander looked at the tactical displays. The human fleet sat just outside the minefield, patient and watchful. They were not attacking. They were not destroying. They were simply waiting, demonstrating absolute control. What will they demand? The Supreme Commander asked quietly. His pride was finally breaking. I do not know, but if we do not ask, we will never know, and our people will die. The Supreme Commander bowed his head. His entire life had been dedicated to conquest and glory. Now he would be remembered as the leader who surrendered, but at least his people would live. Send the transmission, he said. We surrender, unconditionally. On the Valkyrie, Okoro received the message. She felt no joy in victory, only relief that the killing could finally stop. Recall the mind seeds, she ordered. Open a corridor for their delegation to reach our ships, and get Ambassador Vasquez up here. We need to discuss terms. The peace negotiation took place aboard the Blackstar. Captain Chen hosted the meeting in his conference room. It seemed fitting. The ship that started the war would see its end. The Zethrak delegation was led by the War Master himself. The Supreme Commander had refused to attend, his pride still too wounded. The War Master did not care. He was tired of pride. He wanted peace. Elena Vasquez sat across from him with Fleet Admiral Okoro at her side. Admiral Tharxis and other coalition representatives filled the room. The terms are simple, Elena said. Total disarmament. Your military fleet is already destroyed. You will not rebuild it. Coalition observers will monitor your shipyards. Any attempt to build warships will be met with immediate response. The War Master nodded. He had expected this. Second, Elena continued, reparations. You attacked coalition worlds. Killed millions. You will pay for the damage. Resources, labor, whatever the coalition deems appropriate. Again, the War Master nodded. Fair enough. Third, Elena said, her voice harder now, war crimes trials. Your leaders who ordered attacks on civilian targets will face justice. This is non-negotiable. The War Master hesitated. The Supreme Commander will never agree to this. Then he can stay on your planet and die of old age, Okoro said bluntly. We don't need him to agree. This is not a negotiation. This is us telling you how things are going to be. The War Master looked at the humans carefully. There was no mercy in their eyes. But there was also no hatred. They were simply pragmatic. They had won. They were dictating terms. This was how wars ended. I accept these terms on behalf of the Zethrak Dominion, he said formally. Good, Elena replied. The blockade will be lifted within the hour. Humanitarian aid will begin immediately. We will not let your people starve. But understand this, you are being given a chance. One chance. Use it wisely. The meeting ended. The War Master returned to his shuttle, his heart's heavy but hopeful. His people would survive. That was all that mattered. But the galaxy had other questions. Questions about humanity and their weapons. Questions about what would happen next. The Coalition Council convened an emergency session 1 week later. The war was over. The Zethrak were defeated. But now the Council faced a new problem. What to do about humanity's military power? They have weapons that violate every principle of the Accord, the Kryn prelate argued. Self-replicating mines, antimatter beams, nuclear weapons. We cannot allow this to continue.